Well, good evening to everyone who's tuning in, wherever you may be, whether you're in Victoria. Looking forward to maybe getting along to Sandown tomorrow night because things have opened up. As we know, we can get to the track and it's snowballing all at the moment. But wherever you are, hope you've done the form and looking forward to tomorrow night. I'm joined by George Farrugia. And George, we've spoken all week amongst each other about this night of racing, but now it's getting closer. It's Christmas time, isn't it?
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. The kids have been tucked into bed, mate. It is Christmas Eve at the moment. They don't realise, my kids, how special it is tomorrow. There'll be a lot of nervous trainers and a lot of nervous owners this close to Melbourne Cup glory and Bold Trees glory for that matter. But just can't wait for tomorrow. The heats are just jam-packed, as they always are, and can't wait to go through them and hopefully we can find a winner.
Depends who you speak to when you from a point of view of doing form for these sort of races. Some would say it's harder because all the dogs are so good. But I take it from a different point of view that all dogs are so good that they're more reliable at what they do. And it's quite, you never say simple, but you can rely on them and have a more of a firmer opinion. What do you reckon?
Yeah, you can rely on what they'll do out of the boxes, all that sort of stuff. I understand people's point of view, though, that if you make one little mistake in a race like this, usually a greyhound's off and gone, and it's a rough result. We've seen that happen, every year. There'll be a rough result tomorrow. There'd be no doubt about it. So I think that's where punters sort of think, this is pretty hard, because if there's one misstep of a greyhound or he's a length and a half behind him on the first corner and gets into a bit of trouble, the race opens up completely. And I think there's probably no better example than that than Aston Rupee tomorrow. So that's going to be really interesting to see how he can handle probably an awkward draw with the way the speed map reads.
Yeah, exactly right. And good evening to who we got in the chat. It's popping up. Liam Sharp, Peter Riley, Matthew Crozier, Dan Hibbard. First question, George, I'll fire this at you. What would the strength of the field be for the Melbourne Cup this time around?
I think it's right up there, especially when you get greyhounds like Tommy Shelby catching a plane and heading over. And look, we've got a track record holder sitting there in Aston Rupee, a greyhound that I can't remember the last time he's run a bad race in Koblenz. And even if you just package those three away, there's so many greyhounds that can run in the 29.20s, 29.30s. So I think it's very, very good. Is it the best of all time? Maybe not, but it would be right up there. There's some very, very good stays. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, we don't have some of the stars of New South Wales for different reasons. They've chosen to go elsewhere. Yeah. But I think, you look at it, Victoria's the strongest state from racing. We've got all the stars lining up. Jungle Juice, it's an amazing story with Tommy Shelby over as well. And before we get stuck into the Bold Trees heats, George, we've got a comment from Peter Riley. Tough tears back-to-back for a roughie. We wind back the clock the last year. The first couple of heats, I think, with Lucy's Milo at telephone number sort of prices, and then backing up was tough tears. So it does happen.
Well, it does. And again, they're quality greyhounds, and often you can get 10, 20, even 30 to 1 odds because they're up against some greyhounds that might be in picket fence form and are running 29.2s, and they just happen to miss it a little bit, and all of a sudden greyhounds like Tough Tears and Lucy's Milo, as you mentioned, come out and get the job done. So as much as it might be a surprise with the odds, I don't think anyone was surprised that Tough Tears won a heat, and Lucy's Milo for that matter. He was a terrific greyhound as well. So, yeah, I think it just underlines the depth of each of these heats.
Mm. So the Melbourne Cup heats kick off race 5, heat number 1. But before that, of course, the first 4 races on the card are heats of the Bold Trees at Group 1 level. And with feature staying races this day and age, George, it's probably... Look, we're probably getting less from a capacity point of view, less heats than what we have in the past. But to get 35 noms for a Bold Tree series is really good. And there's probably not that superstar stayer like a Tornado Tears where people might think to themselves, we can't beat him. We just cannot run the times that he can. So it's pretty wide open.
Yeah, I think it is. And obviously we lost 5-star through injury. He would have been sort of right up there in betting for sure. And obviously Zach's Entity is off just trying to get better. He would have been a big draw card here. Clearly Stanley Road should be favourite, and I think that market is correct there. I mean, if you talk about unlucky runs, that Stayer's Top Gun, and he was really ready to pounce. Now a lot of people, I'm in the theory that if Zach Kennedy probably was chasing a little bit hard early on, I think he would have blown everyone away, Zach Kennedy. But from where they were turning for home, Stanley Road was just ready to win that race. He's a proven Group 1 performer. What I like about him tomorrow night is he's been here and done that, even at Sandown Park. He's made a Sandown Cup final, as you know, Jason. I think 380 is probably good value if he can get through, obviously, because he'll probably start a little shorter than that in that final. I don't think there's a greyhound there that connections of Stanley Road are scared of, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always, I mean, it's always an example at Sandown Cup time as well, where you think it's all going to play out to a T, and in the end, we had all sorts of funny results pop up. But let's get into it. Let's not look at today's racing. Let's look at tomorrow's racing Friday night. So Heat 1 of the Bold Trees is first up. Let's flick the page, George, to Heat number 1. So the market, first of all, Stanley Road 165, and that is to be expected, and he couldn't drift further than that because, I mean, not only on class, which he's got well and above of those who he lines up against, but on ability.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's a strange race for me in a sense that there's a lot of speed in this race. So Stanley Road's going to find himself at the back of the pack, which he's used to. He's going to have to navigate his way through, which he's used to. He's got a very good PB here. So, look, if he gets the last crack at him, he'll be incredibly hard to beat. Where I'm going to have a play here is the draft dog Untapped, because if she begins like we know she can, I think she's a big chance of giving him something really to chase here. The last win came at Sandown where she ran 33.87 over the 595, Jay. She went 9.09 early, which you know is a very hot run, right? So that's going to be the key to her. We're watching a race here at the Meadows where she just powered to the line late. I spoke to trainer Dustin Drew today. He's really confident in where she's at the moment. He thinks she's rock hard fit. Probably 650 is more her main go, more than 715. But as you know, if they can just get out and go, I think she's around the $16 mark, Jake. So that's where I'll have a play. Going to have something small on my own dog in Enter the Sun because I know he's a pretty hard chaser. I didn't mind his run behind Mapunga Warrior last start. But you're right. I mean, if Stanley Road gets to sit on either of those, or the whole field, to be honest, he'll just blow us all away. There's no doubting that. But, yeah, look, this was a really good run here by Untapped. She got to the line well. And the beauty with her is when she's on, she can really jump well. And as I said, she trialled well there over 700, or at least the first couple of splits. And I think she's a big chance of leading it, at least giving you a run for your money at some big odds.
Yeah, and Peter Riley's just chimed in the comments too, saying she was very unlucky that race, and I'm pretty sure he was handling the winner. So, certainly some comments there from Pete. Liam Sharp, I like that the 4 distance heats are run consecutive this year. I agree with that. What do you reckon, George? Because from a narrative point of view on the night, in the past, especially being fortunate enough to be part of the broadcast, when you start the chop from series to series, it can get quite confusing even from a presenter point of view when you're on track, let alone for people at home. So I think that consecutive heats of both series is better.
Totally agree with Liam. Absolutely. Just sounds silly. Get out of the way, I reckon, so we know what the final field is for the Bold Trees, and then we can get on to the Melbourne Cup. So I think hopefully it's something that we keep going forward.
Yeah, and just on that too, the box draw for the Bold Trees will be on track after race number 6 and streamed live on Sky Racing Active. One thing I wanted to point out here, George, Overflow Lisa. Now, there's a lot of people who are fans of her. She can clearly run. She was bought by Deb Coleman and Rob Camilleri to do exactly this, compete in these big races. But look, she's drawn box 1, and what we've seen from her a couple of times, and I'm going to point out this run here, which did come 2 starts ago at Sandown. Now, she's got box 2, and you'll be able to see she wants to move to the outside part of the track, which isn't exactly evident there.
You'd see it on the head-on for sure.
Yeah, let's go have a look at the head-on vision.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not so much there, but in this Bendigo run from box 3, she really wanted to push off. So, I mean, with stays...
But even there, Jay, you're right. Even there, Jay, sorry. You notice a lot of dogs really carve left out of those 7:15 boxes. She didn't necessarily do that, did she? So this is from box 3, right? Yeah. First couple of strikes definitely wants right. that's probably not a good thing for my bloke in box 2, because they seem to have pretty similar speed to that first corner. Then she sort of straightens up here, and yeah, look, she's a quality animal. She breaks 42 easily. It just depends on where she's going to sit if she gets lead here. She's obviously strong as well, but they'll all be worried about this big shadow looming that's called Stanley Road behind them. But yeah, look, she's a handy chaser. Interesting to see how she goes off the red. You're right.
Yeah, 165. We're both tipping him to win. Is that enough meat on the bones to throw in a multi for a night?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Look, especially if they bunch up a little bit up front, that's all he needs, Stanley Road. I mean, he could win anyway, but if they do that, I mean, they really are going to have to get away from him. And I'm talking 8 to 10 lengths and probably a little bit further for some of these greyhounds who are either just starting up over 700 or have been there. Super is an interesting one. She's a fantastic chaser from New South Wales. I'm always a little bit worried when they're first up here in a race. And that's why I think out of the 2 Sydney siders there are definitely Stanley Rowe, because he's been here and done that. And yeah, as I said, hopefully there's no ill effects from his run in that Top Gun. He doesn't strike me as a greyhound that would worry about it too much.
Yeah, and he did trial at the track on Saturday morning too in poor conditions, but considering went really well, and there's no signs of his confidence being hampered at all. So Stanley Road looks very hard to beat in heat number 1 of the Bold Trees. Of course, the top 2 from each heat will advance to the final, and not a lot of market fluctuations from that point as well, from in that heat as well. Heat number 2, George. Now, this is interesting. X Factor all over her. Highly explosive. She's the favourite. She's first up over 700 metres. Is she going to get it? That's always the big question when they're first up.
She's one of those greyhounds that every time you see her in a race, you say, I wish she had 50 metres further. And she gets her opportunity here. You're right. I mean, X Factor, up the wazoo. I mean, she's just an absolute star. We've seen her run in that shootout in the Speed Star, where I think she nearly ran Tiggerlong Tonk down in 29.10s. So the ability's always been there.
Here she is in box 2 a couple of weeks ago too, which was a big run.
This was massive, wasn't it? I mean, they shuffle up a little bit, but she uses her now, gets on the inside. Look, she's a star. I'd say, look, there's always doubts heading from 600 to 700 when they're going to if they're going to get it. She strikes me as one that will, Jace. I think she's clearly not going to lead here, though. She's got a greyhound called Venus Light next to her, who has done absolutely nothing wrong at Sandown over 7:15. She's won 10 out of 3. She's won 41.80. She runs low 6s, like 6:10, 6:07. She's going to lead the race. They're going to have to run her down. So it's not going to be an easy sort of there's going to be a really big speed battle, I think, between Venus Light and Mapanga Warrior, who I thought was good last week, wasn't he? He went 6:08 with Miss Esme coming out too. I think that alleviates a little bit of the speed. Run Like Jess at his best is obviously a speedy too. So again, this run to the first corner is really interesting. So highly explosive, I think, gets her opportunity, doesn't she? If she just gets to sit behind these, and let's see what she can run home in. What are your thoughts? Do you think she can run it out first go?
Yeah, I think she can. I think she's one that's going to improve quickly over 700 metres, because she doesn't sort of, over that 600 metre run, it wasn't as if she just turned it on in the last 50 metres, was going to burn all the petrol then. I think it was a bit of a grind, and to me, that's quite a good sign when you're stepping up. There's that constant momentum that she's able to build. Speaking of ones who have been first up, Mapanga Warrior last week. Now he's second up. I want to hear from you, George, because in the past and for the period of time I've been involved in greyhound racing, we'll see him here from box number 5 in his first crack at 700 last week. People talk about second up syndrome over 700 metres. Is that something that's common, you think? Because to me, it doesn't happen often enough to be a term that carries a lot of strength. I don't see it happening enough to really be concerned by it.
I think the only person that would truly know would be Jeff Britton, because I think you've got to take every dog individually. Now, this dog might have pulled up really well, so then there's not going to be a second up syndrome, I wouldn't have thought. I think the key here for this race is he went 41.98. There was another stayers race on the night where Gypsy Wyong led and was run down by Nick Bale, both Group 1 winners, and they didn't break 42 seconds. So I think Mapanga Warrior's run here is very, very good. I wouldn't be surprised. I know his sister's got a 41.44 PB, Mapanga Ruby. I don't think there's that much between them in terms of their ability. So I wouldn't be surprised if the track is playing well, whether he can come out and run 41.60. what you're saying is that he doesn't have that second up syndrome where it didn't take too much out of him. Again, he's had some really solid 650 runs. So I think he's seasoned enough, Jace, to handle it. He went 608 last week, which is very fast. Just quickly on highly explosive too. When she got beaten last week at Sandown, she went 34-13 overall. She went 9:41 early, Jace. I mean, there's just a lack of speed, and then that grinding finish home. She just might be looking for this distance. And look, she's always promised to be a group dog. Probably now is the time to deliver for highly explosive.
Yeah, a comment from Liam Sharp as well. I wouldn't be surprised if highly explosive makes the final, but not sure if she would run it out second week over 7:15. So there's someone who would certainly know the backup process from Greyhound's been first up over 700 metres. From a tipping point of view, George, I quite like the Mr. Speaker element here. What price is he? He's $14. I think there's a fair bit of value in that. I was just so taken by his run in ahead of the Hume Cup, where it was a bit tougher the next week given the depth of field that he found himself up against. But this was massive. I mean, we've known him to set quick times leading. To win from where he was huge, and let alone setting a time of 34.32. He jumps in box 3 here. Do you think he's a legitimate chance at the double-figure odds?
Oh, I think so. Look, he's got form over this distance. The form line reads well too, doesn't it, Jace? Because he defeated Nick Bale, who went on to win this Group 1 final. Look, he's certainly a chance, that's for sure. I think he had a good little hit out too at Bendigo, where he ran behind Graceland Bale, who is a very, very underrated chaser. He's definitely some nice odds and a chance. I just don't know how he's going to go if the likes of, Mapunga Warrior is out highballing in front, whether it's going to be enough to run him down, especially if what I think about Mapunga Warrior and whether he can really trim this PB next week, it comes to fruition.
Yeah, so I'll be tipping Mr. Speaker at that price. Not that you sort of look at him and go, yeah, he should win this race, but I just think there's a lot of value about that. And I just can't get that Hume Cup heat run out of my head. What about you, George? Who you got on top in this one?
Yeah, I'm sticking with Mapunga Warrior at the $3 mark. I just think that his run last week was really good. His run in the Hume Cup to run second to Nick Bale was outstanding. I thought he got to the line really, really well. And I just think he should set up a nice little break. Yes, Venus Fly is going to challenge him early, but I don't think he minds that. I think he'll relish that, and I think he'll be hard to beat.
So a fair bit of fluctuations there. Mapunga Warrior 5 into 3. Support for lighter quality. He's got a huge motor for Daryl Thomas. I know there's a very passionate team of connections behind him, and Mr. Speaker's been the other significant move at 26 in the 14, and a bit of a move there for highly explosive 320 into 260. But a lot of these big flux, George, I mean, to John Smith walking down the street, they look at that and think, geez, that grain's been really supported. But quite often it's just a correction of the market, and sort of they're backed into a price at which they should be, not back to win the race, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and also the scratching of Miss Esme, I think, sort of has played
a little bit.
A little bit here. But I understand what you're saying. There's a huge go later on that we'll talk about in the Melbourne Cup. I think it's one of the bigger ones we've seen. But no, look, it's a quality race. I'm sticking with the Warrior, and I'm happy to see that he has been back there. But I think he'll win.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Boltreese, heat number 3, which is race 3 on the card. And I think Nick Bale lines up at least well and truly in the mark. I've got 3 of them here at the pointy end. First of all, let's have a look at Kenny the Brute. He is the favourite at $2.90 from a flux point of view. He's drifted out from his opening price. And listening to Cal Greeno on RSN yesterday, he said Kenny's a type that just will not leave the fence. He won't run around other greyhounds. So box 3's clearly got him an advantage for him. We'll have a look at his run a couple of weeks ago when beaten by Who That Diva. He's wearing the 7 here, George.
Yeah, look, he's obviously a very, very talented greyhound. 3 starts ago, 41.53 at Sandown. And clearly, if you look at his box history, his best form is from wide tracks. We see here he shows some nice speed. Mm-hmm. He does go 6.23, which is pretty good. 6.23. That should get him ahead of the greyhounds drawn underneath him. It's my part. He can show a little bit of speed, obviously, but I think Kenny can sort of hunt up underneath her with a lap to go. This is a really tough race for me, Jason. Probably the toughest of the 4 heats. Nick Bale just keeps getting undervalued and underrated, I think. And she was huge last week to run down Gypsy Wyong. Of course, a Group 1 Top Gun winner. I thought her run was absolutely outstanding. She's getting stronger. When she led in that Hume Cup, they weren't going to catch her. And I think she's a chance again. Clearly, the greyhound we're all waiting for is Hank the Hustler to see what he's going to do. Mm-hmm. This is the race from last week this is the race from last week where Gypsy Wyong led them a merry dance, to be honest. And Nick Bale, you've got to hand it to her. She is just an outstanding chaser. How about her record here at Sandown over the 7:15? 7 starts for 5 wins in 2 seconds. So, she couldn't be any more consistent. This was a massive win, an absolutely massive win. Yes, she had a little bit of luck there with a couple of dogs bouncing in front of her, but Gypsy Wyong's leading her 4, and she just stuck to her guns and beat her easily at the end, beat her by 2 lengths. So it's really hard to go past her, I suppose, especially with the question marks hanging over Hank the Hustler's head. I'm not sure if he trialled there on Sunday, Jace, and whether you've seen Hank the Hustler, but look, his last win came in early September, and I suppose that's a little bit of a concern.
Yeah, Jeff did have a few there on Sunday. I know he had he had Keep It Black in the Satisfactory trial. He had Weblek Blazer go around Mapunga Ruby. Yeah, and I mean, the conditions were horrible. So they ran times that you couldn't really reference outside of them having a hit out at that point of the week in preparation for Friday. So, he's got to bounce back to his best. Is there any other greyhounds we need to highlight here, George? I mean, the top 3 in the market are the ones that I guess most people are going to be on board with.
Yeah, I think so. As I said, I think It's My Party can give some cheek. She's placed in 6 of 9 here and's got a PB of 41.83. But I don't think if Kenny, Nix, and Hank the Hustler are anywhere near her, whether she'll be able to hold them out. And that's indicative of her price here at $34. Look, I'm going to stick with Nick Bale. She just does nothing wrong for mine, and she chases hard. Yes, she's going to have to try to cut across from the wide draw, but she's probably the one for me. What about you, Jace?
Yeah, I'm with Nick. It's just the consistency at the moment. She's so versatile, and I think she'll be making her way to the Bowl Trees final and running top 2. So there's heat number 3. Let's flick the page to heat number 4. And here we see one of the bigger players in the Bowl Trees in Mapunga Ruby, George. What is she in the market? She is $2.50, just outside of Gypsy Wyong, and has been the firmer of those 2, which are nearly even in price now. But for Ruby, it's probably a few months ago now. She made her debut over 700, and we've said a comment as well. Gypsy, your runner, will run all day. Not wrong about that in the previous heat. She was a Hume Cup finalist and next in line outside of those big 3 in heat number 3. But Mapunga Ruby, a few months ago, she debuted over 700. She went really well, and you just knew. She won the Speed Star at the Meadows. You just knew she's a real handy stayer in the making. Is it now that she's going to really take that next step in a Group 1 series?
Yeah, but I think the timing's wrong a little bit in a sense that I don't think she's fully 100% fit and ready to go. You have to have a crack at the Top Gun. I understand that. But I'd say Jeff Britton would have loved another couple of weeks up his sleeve. That's not to suggest she can't come out and win. I mean, she's obviously a star. And as good as Gypsy Wyong is, and I love Gypsy Wyong, Mapunga Ruby is certainly quicker when they're at their best. And I think the only reason that Gypsy Wyong's favourite here is because of the question marks on Mapunga Ruby and where her fitness is at here. So that's the question mark. I like one at value here, and I'm just going to have a play each way, is a Nike Forest. He's had 5 starts here. He's finished top 2 on 4 occasions. Last week on Sunday, where the track wasn't great, it was a really handy run. He won well.
Here's his last crack over 700 from the red.
Yeah, this is a race he ran second behind Venus Light, who was in one of the earlier heats. Look, he's not. This is what I like about him. He's able to get out and go. He's not an absolute star. Like, he hasn't broken 42 seconds there. I think there's no doubt he can. He's got a little bit of a flat spot in the middle, and I think he gets to the line okay as well. So I'm keen, certainly at the odds. I think at around $31, Joe. So in a race where there's a couple of question marks over a few of them, I think Nike Forest is certainly one that I will be playing each way. And as I said, we just don't know where Mapunga Ruby is at. You would have seen her trial on Sunday. It would have been a nice little blowout for her for sure. She hadn't seen Sandown for a while, I'd suggest. But we just seen Nike Forest just get pipped right on the line here by Venus Flight, who's been in really good form. So, yeah, it's a tough one, Jace. It really is. It's not the hardest of the heats. So if Mapunga Ruby's going to bounce back, this is probably her time to do it. But as I said, I want to have a play at Nike Forest at 31s and 390 for Tim Brick.
Big comment from Peter Riley as well, that Nike Forest has the speed to lead and hopefully run a drum, which, of course, if he does run top two, he's through to the final. Also owned by Peter Cameron, who does a terrific job for the sport over in the West. I'm quite bullish about number 5, Who That Diva, George. I mean, it's a field where there's no standout, and I think the win that she put together 2 starts ago was good. The come from behind like she did in a pretty good field. It was a special event over 700, and then in the free-for-all last week, got cut up a fair bit and just didn't get a crack at him. But I'm just concentrating on her run 2 starts ago. She replicates that. I think she goes well.
Yeah, and she's done nothing wrong. I mean, if you have a look at her form, I mean, she's hardly missed a pace more recently.
It's been more of a timing thing as to where she finds herself now, and I think timed quite well, given what she's done in the last few months.
Yeah, and look, she's going to be led, obviously. She runs around the 620, 630 mark. There's going to be greyhounds that are going to be a little bit quicker to that mark. But we're watching her from box 4 here. Look, Nick Bale is out in front here in box 1, who goes on to win the race. But take nothing away from what Who That Diva does here. Gets the line really nicely. And as we said, she's been in good form. And she's had a really solid base too, Jason. So she's had now about 7 starts over this distance or equivalent. So she'll be nice and rock hard fit and ready to go. And, yeah, as I said, there's question marks over the leading fancies here. Gypsy Wyong's run last week was probably a touch disappointing, but she might have taken a lot out of what happened with the Top Gun. It was a 5-day turnaround. She might have had a bit more of a freshen up. I think she's going to break 42 seconds, Gypsy Wyong. I just checked the weather. I believe there's no rain. Jason, I know we don't want to jinx that. We touch wood, but I think it's just cloudy. And so I think the track should be playing okay. But, number 6 for me was a little bit of value.
Yeah, just from a track point of view, it's in really good nick. I mean, we trialled yesterday and the quick dogs went quick. I'm sure the boys won't mind me saying of Dave McKenzie and Gav Cliff. Now, Photo Man, he looks to be a pretty smart pup, and he went about 23-15 or something, which is probably in excess of what they thought he'd go. So we're about bang on after all that horrid weather over the past couple of weeks, and we look at tomorrow, possible shower, max of 18, bit of breeze around, so not the perfect night, but I mean, far better than what we've seen over the past couple of weeks, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's not the worst either.
Yeah. Sure. All right, so that's the heats of the Bold Trees over and done with. You're on top, George, just before we move on. I've forgotten that already.
Look, I'm just going to play Nike Forest each way, for sure. Yeah, because if you can find the front, he's a sneaky chance.
Yeah, similar thoughts with me to Who That Diva. Different sort of racing pattern. She'll probably be coming on from midfield, but yeah, that's our view of the Bold Tree seats. Again, the top 2 from each will go through to the next week's Group 1 final. The box draw after race number 6 on track, which will be live on Sky Racing Active. So that's that for the Bold Tree. So now get into the business end of the night. TAB Melbourne Cup heat number 1. It's very intimidating, magical to see that in the form guide, but here we are, and one of the favourites for the series and has been for some time, Co-Blends, will jump from box number 2. And I'm sure, George, as soon as Dave Gill saw that pop up, he thought, beautiful. Box 2 again. He's had it plenty of times recently, and certainly hasn't wasted the opportunity.
Yeah, and look, and let's be honest, it's not the hardest of the heats, I think, too. I think there's a couple of ticks here. We all know how good Immunity is. I mean, she's run 29.13 there. I've seen an article with Jason Thompson saying that they've had some niggles with her, and you can kind of tell because she just hasn't been at her best. She hasn't won a race since August. She didn't look at her best last week, but she did go 5.13, which is a little bit encouraging. But look, this greyhound is such a pro. 4.98 last week. He's so reminiscent. He's so reminiscent of his dad, isn't he? The way he begins. I'm not saying he's as quick as Fernando Bale. He's probably as quick as his mum, Uphill Jill, who I think won 800,000 in prize money. He's got a better PB than her. But we're just watching here. Just always seems to step pretty clean, and then that acceleration is just crazy. So to run 4.98, Toifu and Sammy, I tell you what, that's really impressive as well. I mean, they're probably two of the fastest greyhounds going around over 400 metres, and you can see what they did to the rest of the field. Look, he just has to step cleanly, doesn't he, Jace? I mean, he's $1.40. He stayed pretty solid at that quote, whereas some of the others have drifted out a little bit. There's not too much pace. Indy Fido can hop out of a box and show some speed. Certainly not in the class of Koblenz. Japar is probably not going as well. And as we said, Immunity probably in the same boat. So I think everyone's expecting him just to jump and do what he needs to do. His record from every box is crazy, but especially from 1, 2, and 3, Jace, because he doesn't have to probably do too much. He just has to begin on terms and then show that prowess. So he's going to be incredibly hard to beat.
He is. Tyson Barfoot getting involved in the comments too. Thanks for your kind words there, Tyson. With Koblenz, George, we saw some, or we actually were at a point in time where we could release some of the data that's been recorded from the chips that have been in the rugs of all the greyhounds for probably a month and a half to 2 months at Sandown. And we've put in place through the Brook Group and the judges upstairs a split of 20 metres after the start, not the traditional 72 that we see run at about 5 seconds or so. And Koblenz had the quickest 20 metres of the night, running 2.1 seconds, I think it was, George. So it's really, when we talk about races and being decided early, it's not the 5 seconds, because that's really a reflection of acceleration rather than this 20 metres, which is it's fact of how they've begun.
It is, and I had a look at those stats, Jason. There was a couple of greyhounds who went 2:17, 2:16 already. That you say, there's probably not much between that, but it's already a length he's got on greyhounds by the time he gets to that point. So, and I'm talking the sort of the next best. I mean, nothing got close to 2:10 really. So, look, he's just an absolute star. What a thrill it would be for David Gill. I mean, he's already won the Melbourne Cup. He made a Melbourne Cup with Uphill Jill. She finished down the track, and then a year later won it with My Redeemer with the same pedigree here. For him to become I mean, we're looking far down the track here, but if he was to become a 2-time Melbourne Cup winner, I think he'd sleep pretty easy, David. He's had an unbelievable 2021. I think this would just be the cherry on top for him. And Koblenz, a lot of people thought might have been a little bit unlucky not to be in the Top Gun field. There's a lot of word out that he looks like he's going to get a spot in the Phoenix. He's going to get an opportunity to race for some big money, and could be next Friday night. I think he should just be winning, and the price highlights that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it in simple terms, there's probably not a greyhound in the field that can set the overall time that he can at his finest, and none of them can begin as well as what he can. So he's short $1.40, but you'd have to think that that's bang on, and you wouldn't tell anyone not to put him in the multi. He's going to be unbelievably hard to beat. And before we actually keep going, let's have a look at the all-in market, George, because for a dog that's $1.40 in a Melbourne Cup heat that we think is just about ready to go through, to get $4.80 about him for the final, it's certainly not a silly price. That's certainly a bit of mayonnaise, which is not something you always see in these sort of markets.
No, it's not. And you know what it's like, Jason. I just think, will he start $4.80 next week? Probably not. No, probably not. Even if Aston Rupi's in it, he's probably going to be around the $2.90, $3 mark. I'm just having a guess here, but I don't think he'll be $4.80. Aston Rupi's been back from, I think, $6 about 10 days ago into $4. So interesting market there. Rebellious being kept pretty safe as well.
Yep. All right, so that's heat one, Koblenz. We think we'll get the job done there and make his way through to the next Friday's final. Heat number 2, and what a story. Tommy Shelby. I mean, there's doubts about his preparation, given he hasn't had a genuine run over 500, but he's Tommy Shelby. Professionalism and class has to carry for plenty.
Absolutely. And don't worry, he'll be as fit as he can be. And when I say that, trainers will tell you, and I've never trained a dog in my life, but I mean, if you listen to trainers, they'll tell you that there's a difference between trial fit and being race fit. So he's not going to be 100%, but he doesn't have to be. He probably doesn't have to be because he's clearly the class runner of the race. He trialled, we're watching him here, having a little bit of a walk on. That's Tommy Shelby to a T, isn't he? He's just a get out and go, just let me at it. And because of that sort of characteristic, he's able to offset poor box draws. And this is probably a poor box draw because of the speed, probably drawn closer to the middle of the track. But look, he's an absolute star. Obviously, he trialled at Cannington and went very, very fast post to post. Again, he hasn't had a 500 for a little while. But Steve Withers would have him as fit as he can get him for this, and I think they're playing it down a little bit in the sense that they wouldn't bring him here if he wasn't ready to go. And he might not be 100% fit, but he might be 90% fit, Jace, and that might be enough for Tommy Shelby. Yeah. And I tell you what, if he does win, then all of a sudden he's a major chance the week after, because I mean he'll only strip fitter for the run.
Yeah, it'd be an amazing story for him to get up and make his way through to a second cup final after he ran third last year behind Hardstyle Rico and also Simon Sold. Helen, in terms of his opposition here, George, we got a comment from Tyson Barfoot. You can't not have a dabble on Barrugia Smoke at $6, especially if Tommy and Invictus Rising can't get a good spot from out wide.
Well, I'm glad Tyson, brought up Barrugia Smoke. He's had 43 career starts, this greyhound. He's finished in the top 3 36 times. You probably won't find a more consistent dog. He's got a great PB here of 29.16. There's one little thing for me, Jace, and that's the discrepancy for his splits to the first mark. When he won here in 29.21, he ran 5.11. The week after, he went 5.06. Last week, he went 5.34.
Did he get crunched or he just missed it?
Yeah, he did. And even at the Meadows, just have a look here. We'll have a look here. Yeah, look, he gets squeezed out, but it's more that he probably didn't begin all that well, and that's the question mark with him. Even when he ran second in the Meadows before there, he went 5.16. That means he's not going to lead if he's running those. He needs to get down into the low 5.10s. And as I said, he did go 5.06. That was back on October 14. So. I think he's a huge chance. I really do. I think he's a huge chance. How quick is Idolize out of the boxes too? When we talk about Coblenz running 2.10, I think Idolize was probably nearly one of the next best. She's gone 4.97 at the Meadows. The question mark here is clearly whether she's ready to take on this class of greyhound. She's only had the 10 race starts. But she's an important part of the race because she gets to that first corner so quickly. So then where does Tommy sit? That's the fly in the ointment for me for Tommy. There's a little bit of speed in this race. Aston Lavinia can be a lid pinger too. And I think that 600-metre form is probably going to hold her in good stead. She can really get out and go. So there's probably about 4 or 5 greyhounds that could get to the marker at the same time as Tommy Shelby if they all do the right thing. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah, I think you bang on with Idolize. I had a quick chat to son of her trainer, Peter Prosciutto, his son, James Prosciutto, and they're just so happy with what she's doing at the moment. And you look at all these big names that went around last week, George, and she features in both these tables of tops max speed and top average speed. Idolize, she's down the bottom end, but I mean, there's some big names above her who possibly got to race at a better part of the night as well. So she carries a lot of pace and could prove a handful. Aston Lavinia is another one that can show pace. We had a few comments here. Aston Lavinia should beat Barrugia Smoke out to the first turn. That's from Liam Sharp, who knows his girl very well. Lukey Corder, Aston Lavinia and Idolize will make it tough for Barrugia Smoke out of the boxes. Hey Sutton, could we see Aston Lavinia running low 5.0s? She hasn't begun in her last 2 500. Luke Stedman, I see the 6 and 7 carting Tommy Shelby over, which is Idolize and Invictus Rising. Liam Sharp on Aston Lavinia thinks that she can go 5.05. If she leads, she'll be hard to run down from Heath.
The other thing, Jay, sorry to butt in there, is that if there's going to be a little bit of a scrimmage, then greyhounds like Nicole Bale from box 1 come into this race.
It's got a massive heart.
His recent form isn't great, but his last win in October at Geelong in 25.43, if you don't mind, 6.53 early, is a very, very hot run. And he's had 10 starts here. He's run 29.48 off box 1. He could be the best box dog in the race here if there is a little bit of a scrimmage and he just gets up underneath them. Don't be surprised if that were to happen. But it's a really interesting race. For those that like Barrugia Smoke, you can't tip against him in that regard, that he's just going to try. As I said, his record is his strike rate for finishing in the top 3. And I'll tell you what, he hasn't had the luxury of good box draws either. He hasn't drawn anywhere inside 3 in the last 6 starts. He's a greyhound to watch out for. But I just got this feeling that even though we haven't seen him for 3 months, that Tommy Shelby could just come out and blow them away. I mean, he's that type of...
Yeah,
that'd be good to see. he'll certainly add to the final, wouldn't he, if he made it through?
Oh, big time. It'd be huge for the final. Before we move on, George, Heath Sutton, thoughts on Weblek Raider?
Yeah, Weblek Raider's an interesting one. Again, he hasn't won here in 6 starts. It's probably the concern I have. His 2 wins at the Meadows, obviously very, very good. In his win at the Meadows, in 29.75. He went 5.10 that day, but he too can be a little bit hit or miss at box rise, and I just think there's speed drawn everywhere. So a little bit of concern for him, but he's certainly a talent, that's for sure. I know the camp have got a pretty high opinion of him. I think we're watching this 29.75 win.
Yeah, box
jumped
7.
really nice. Yeah, jumped well. It's just this is another step up in class, as we know. So he's going to have more heat going into that first corner of what he's done there. And since that win, we've seen that where he got beaten by Barecki and Aussie Secret, 2 greyhounds who are clearly class dogs. But there's going to be a time for Weblek Raider. I just don't think the Melbourne Cup is it this time around.
Yeah. All right, a few comments before we move on to Heat 3. We've got Heath, who said he's yet to replicate that 29.75. That's true when he steps up in class, as George mentioned. Brad Grayson, Idolise carts Tommy across and he wins. Class is class, bang on. Liam Sharp, if I wasn't being unbiased, talking about Aston Lavinia, I still wouldn't choose Tommy. Too much risk, someone inside. And Heath goes, and he led Wow She's Fast a couple of weeks ago. Yep. You're not wrong. All right, let's go to... Yeah. Yeah, that's right. It was on Sunday, wasn't it? He was quite big. The attention surrounded Wow She's Fast. He thought, who's his dog running second? It was him.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Now, look, Idolise is going to be a star. There's no doubt about it. And there's probably a group race somewhere in her future. She's just young at the moment. And, I think she's going to be a star. Watch out for her for the Laurels, by the way. Yeah, I think she'll be one of the leading contenders there for sure.
And meet Wow She's Fast in that Laurel series as well. All right, heat number 3. Now, speaking of Wow She's Fast, she's $4.40. I don't think she'll jump $4.40, George, and she won't be coming in. What do you think?
I think she'll probably start more like $6, I'd say, at a guess. It's hard to judge, but this is a tough race. There's so much speed in this race. Like, we haven't seen Quarabelle for a month. We know Quarabelle at her best can split very, very fast. Hadouken is a very good beginner. Shows a lot of speed for the first 2 splits for sure. Weblek Jet can begin. Typhoon Sammy is my tip in this race. I'll just lay it right up in front. I really liked his run last start. He was I think Jason Lincoln, we had him on radio today, and he said that you said to him that he's the only greyhound to touch 70 k's an hour at Sandown.
Yeah, so we spoke about those tracking units that have been in, and since we've been recording data and sort of errors have been ironed out and the top speed has been quite accurate, no one's hit 70 kilometres per hour, and that's even with recording numbers from Aston, Rupee and alike. So the top speed and acceleration from Typhoon Sammy is something else. There he is from box 8.
And look who he's up against. You know, the best breaker in the business. Didn't begin all that well, to be fair, Typhoon Sammy, and stuck with Koblenz for a little while. Yes, he got tired, but it was, again, I heard Jason Thompson say that it was his first 500 in 3 months. Hadn't had the ideal preparation where that was his first go at Sandown. I said on radio today, and I think he's got the Simon told Helens about him in that Melbourne Cup group listed race where he had the pink, accelerated through that first corner and just broke them up. I think he's capable of, running 29.30 tomorrow night, Typhoon Sammy. And if he begins even just a scary better than he did last week, I think he can go close to breaking 5 seconds to the mark.
Yeah,
it's a tough heat, but I just think he'll be winning tomorrow. Yeah.
He's got Ben Mayo on his inside, and they met in the same race last week. So Typhoon Sammy in 8, Ben Mayo in 4. Now, Ben Mayo does want to get to the wider part of the track. He doesn't really push. That's where he wants to be, and he's probably not as much as what he's done in the past, George. And Anthony Party has been so open in saying he's fast. He's not denying his ability. He thinks he can match it with anyone. It's just getting that match fitness and him learning what it's all about in races of this sort of pressure.
That's it. That's all it is. This is a dog that's had 10 race starts. And you've got to have a crack at it. So I understand Anthony putting dogs in like this and Idolise being in it. But they know full well that they're up against bona fide free-for-all greyhounds who have had 40, 50 starts, who have been there and done that. So it's very hard for a dog like Ben Mayo to come out and beat this field. And as I said, there might be group races for him going forward, but this is a tough race. It's silly to say this as well, because all trainers would be getting their dogs prepared 110% ready to go. But there's something about Team Daly on these big nights, and that's the greyhound I'm most scared of is Clara Bale. And I mean, she's known as the Sprint Queen and all this sort of stuff. She's clearly been out of form, so much so that they left her out of the Top Gun. But they've got their own track at home. Their modus operandi would be to make sure that she absolutely pings out and does what she does best. I just got this theory that if Typhoon Sammy leads her, I think he'll do enough to hold on. I'm not sure what your thoughts are there, Jace, but she's clearly the danger for mine. It's a really good heat, but Clara Bale at her best would be very scary.
Yeah, X Factor. We saw the vision before of Tommy Shelby being walked onto the lure yesterday. Team Daly were also down in the afternoon, and it had all of their greyhounds that are in tomorrow night having a walk on and sort of getting that final touch of preparation, not from a fitness point of view, from a mental point of view. So you wouldn't be surprised if Clara was to return somewhere near her best. And before we move on from this heat, George, a lot of chat about Hadouken here in the comments. We'll start off with Tyson Barfoot talking to Liam Sharp. I'm putting my money on Hadouken's back. Give me some hope. Liam says he's a really good chance. Just worried about the run home. Sooner or later, he should have the fitness. Hey Sutton, Hadouken, best bet of the card. Luke Stedman, Hadouken is the value on the card. What else have we got here? So one.
The interesting thing with Hadouken, as you find that, is his last two runs in town, he's gone 5:02 to the marker at the Meadows, and he went 5:06 last week, both from box 4, so he didn't have things his own way. Clara Bale's certainly going to put the heat on early. That is an intriguing battle, and that's why I don't think Typhoon Sammy is drawn as what people might make out. And Clara Bale's record here, 5 out of 6 and 29.17 PB. So off that run to the first corner, this is going to tell us a lot. I mean, we're talking about all these dogs, and wow, she's fast. She's been in the Melbourne Cup betting for forever and a day. I just can't see how she wins. I just can't see how she wins from this draw. I'm happy to see her prove me wrong, but it's going to be tough for her and Ben Mayo. I think they're both greyhounds on the right trajectory, but just not now. Not now.
Yeah. Hugo Hansen, Hadouken can easily lead. Not sure if he can hold on, though. Luke Corder, throw the form guide out the window. Something special about Quira at Sandown. Of course, Group 1 Sapphire Crown winner back in May. And is the favourite at $3.90, Hadouken $7. But where with Typhoon Sammy, George?
Yeah, I am, because he went 5:05. That was his first look from the box. He didn't begin all that well. He would have led them a merry dance if it wasn't for Koblenz. And I just think even that run around the corner, he's going to overpower a lot of greyhounds with this extreme speed. Don't forget, he did run 23:28 at Bendigo, and Jason Thompson has one of the biggest reps he's had in a while for a greyhound. So I'm happy to stick with that.
Yep, done deal. Okay, race 8, heat 4, the TAB Melbourne Cup for 2021. We spoke about one of the big favourites earlier on in Koblenz, Faultless Beginner. And one greyhound who's trending that way in his past few starts is Aston Rupee. Now, when the draw took place, there was two camps of thought here. There was one that he's drawn the inside, he's going to win the race. The other camp was that Fernando Blue is going to put a ton of pressure on him. What do you reckon, George? How's he going to hold it?
Oh, look, he'll handle the pressure because he's a professional, but you're right. I mean, and again, I agree with what Jason Lincoln said on radio today. If there was anywhere you didn't want to draw, it was probably on the inside of Fernando Bluey. Because even if Fernando Bluey just steps okay without being brilliant beginner, which we know he can be, his acceleration is just brilliant. So he's capable of breaking 5 seconds, as we know. And the other fly in the ointment for me is lots of chatter. If Aston Rupee doesn't happen to go that 5 second flat, I think lots of chatter. He's a terrific greyhound. He's won 31 races. Can use a little bit of the track. And yeah, of the two $1.40 shots, I think Koblenz is clearly the better of the two. But Aston Rupee is just, at the moment, one of those mechanical prototype greyhounds you probably build in a factory. He runs 5 dead early and gets home in 10:30. He's just incredible. This race, I was watching the shootout here. This race was over within 5 metres. I mean, he just jumped cleanly. I think you showed me the head on from the Top Gun, Jace, where he just slightly shifted out from box 2. If he does that and Fernando Bluey comes in, there's probably going to be some sort of some collision there. But yeah, look, he's a pro, this greyhound. You don't want him sitting behind you. I can tell you that, whether it's Fernando Bluey or whoever it is in this race. So, look, I hope he gets through for the sake of the race as well. We're watching the head on here from box 2. Just slightly shifts out, doesn't he? Just probably tracking that the wider of the lures there. Look, it's really interesting. I've got Fernando Bluey in the pre-post, and when I seen the draw he's up against Aston Rupee, I just shook my head, because I just think Fernando Bluey is that type of prototype dog that can win a Melbourne Cup, because he'll run 498, 1850 odd down the back, and probably win in 29:30. So, and his PB is 29:14. So, I'm not sure your thoughts, Jason. It's heart and mouth stuff, I think, for Ray Border in this race.
Yeah, he is. I think he'll win the race. I mean, he's a very smart race dog now, I think. And although we have seen him a couple of times want to move to the middle part of the track, I think the really good ones only do that because that's where the room is. I reckon if he's got Blue on his outside, he's just going to go dead straight. And even, as we know, even if Bluey leads him, who cares? As long as Rupee is 3, 4 lengths, 5 lengths, 6 lengths even off the back, he's going to be a huge chance to be able to run him down. In terms of the comments, can't discount lots of chatter. Has been performing very well in group heats recently from Lee and Sharp. Hugo Hansen, go Bluey. He's a big fan of Fernando Bluey. Heath Hounds, Heath Sutton, Rupee unbeaten from box 3. Corey Smith, horrible map for Aston Rupee, but sometimes we try and find ways to ride off champions. That is bang on. Brad Grayson, hard to tip against a greyhound who runs 28.8, and that's also very true. One other dog I want to point out in this heat, George, is Substantial. You jumped from box number 6, which is exactly what he did last week. And we touched on some of the numbers from last Thursday night in the top speed. There's only one greyhound faster than him from a top speed point of view, and that's Typhoon Sammy. From an average speed point of view, there was none faster than Substantial, and he covered a lot of ground as well, 519 metres. So why he did that? It's because he was caught outside of the greyhound we speak of, Fernando Bluey, which he could find himself in a very similar situation again.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, he's a talented dog, this one, obviously. He's won 3 out of 3 here. Shows good speed there, uses the track perfectly. I think Fernando Bluey might be a little bit sharper this week. But Substantial, those figures, you can't deny them, absolutely. As I said, he's had the 20 race starts. I'm just not sure about him from the box draw here, and where he's going to sit on that first corner with so much speed in probably 1, 3, and 4, to be honest. And just quickly on Aston Rupee, you mentioned now he's just a professional. And to Corey's point, yeah, we do look for, sometimes we'll look on ways that can get beat. I don't think anyone wants to see him get beat, but do you remember that time during the launching pad series, Jace, where I think in the heat he jumped really good and slipped on the matting. I think in the semi-final he missed time to start, hit his head against the lids and missed it. That all comes with experience. Some of his runs were huge during that series. He was 4th or 5th, ran big runs into 2nd. Now he's getting it right at Box Rise. And this is another challenge again. He hasn't faced a Fernando Bluey drawn this close to him in a little while. But yeah, look, I still think he's probably going to get the job done. But he just wants to clear the red and see what Fernando Bluey does. But yeah, like you said, I mean, if he's sitting behind Fernando Bluey, he runs home in a 10:40, well, he's just going to win.
Yeah, it's just game over. And look, Glenn Rounds has treated his preparation as sort of he wants to race. That's when he does his best work. That's true. He's had an 8-day break between the shootout and tomorrow night. So, George, from your point of view and knowing sort of the different ways that greyhounds can come into a series, being that slightly little bit fresh. I know it's only 8 days, but he'd usually have a hit out in between then. Being that little bit slightly fresh, do they typically begin a bit better than what they would at a normal level?
I don't think it will worry him too much. It probably can go both ways. Sometimes they can be a little bit too fresh and they're a little bit over keen, Jace, and they can miss it a bit. I don't think that'll be the case with Aston Rupee here. I was more impressed with the 28.89 win than his actual track record. I think that was you would have been on track, Jace.
Yeah.
The track was playing amazingly fast when he ran 28.79, and I think when he ran 28.89, there was other great dogs that were running 29.50s that night. It was an incredible victory. And I think that's the time he did run home in 10:30, right? So, oh, look, he's just he's just a really special dog. So, there we see it there. And I don't think the track was as conducive, especially the weather conditions that day. And then he ran 29:10 last week when nothing sort of went quicker than, like Kablenz went 29:40. So that was so essentially he's broken 29 seconds on 3 occasions in his last couple of starts. It's incredible. It's incredible. We are watching a machine. Hopefully he can get through to the final.
Yeah, 18:59 and then run home in 10:30. That's just plain rude. That's what it is. Before we move on to race 9, Corey Smith co-blends into Typhoon Sammy is currently $6.16 for a multi. An incredible price for 2 of the fastest dogs imaginable over the first 2 splits at Sandown. What do you think? Will that double up, George?
Yeah, I might have a little bit of a play on that. I've already had something on Typhoon Sammy at the $4.40 just to win his race, but probably makes sense to throw Kablenz in there. So thanks, Corey.
All right, race 9, heat 5. And look, it probably opens up a bit here. We speak about these real fast greyhounds, and when they do their thing, they're extremely hard to beat. Bit different here. I know Jason Lincoln's really keen on Do It. I'm leaning towards Kins on Bail, but then I'm nervous about Fernando Mick in box 4 because he can begin well and then move to the wider part of the track. You got Envy the Burn from box 1 who begins quite well too. How do you see this playing out early?
Yeah, I think Fernando Mick holds the key to the race, doesn't he? I mean, that Melbourne Cup heat win in 29:62, which was the best of the program, was very, very good. But if you speak to David Gill, he'll tell you, and you can watch the replays yourself, he can sometimes flop out, and then he's got great acceleration. So it could be a little bit of a mess on that first corner. I think Do It's really well drawn, obviously, here, Jace. Which race are we watching here? This is
Fernando Mick from box 8 last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he missed it and then stayed wide.
Yeah, look, he's drawn a little bit better now. He doesn't have to sort of circumnavigate the whole field. But yeah, look, he just doesn't begin all that well. But look at the acceleration now. Like, he really gets moving. But at this stage, it's the end of the penny section. He's camped, 4 wide, and it's tough for him there. So. Look, he ran 29.96 in the race, so yeah, he sort of tied a little bit late. But I like where Do It's drawn. And the key again to Do It is he recorded his best sectional last week for a little while at the Meadows. He went 5:07, and it was just overshadowed by the fact that he had Tigalong Tonk and Aston Rupee in front of him. Prior to that, he'd sort of lost a little bit of that early speed when he first started. And this is another thing. I think it's easier to run really good first splits when you're up against greyhounds when you're first starting off, and maidens where you can sort of dominate from the outset. And Do It was one of those greyhounds, I think, that struggled a little bit over 500 because he wasn't getting to the markers quick. So if he wasn't drawn well, he'd get camped out and get into a little bit of trouble. But he's seemingly come back in the last couple of weeks. And as I said, that 5:07 was the best he's done. And I think if he can repeat that, and even if he sits behind Envy to Burn, he's going to be hard to beat. Hebridean Black, Jace, have you seen a turnaround like this? I mean, he's
going well.
And you love watching him race. He's a powerhouse of a dog. I read an article with Lisa Cockrell saying that, we don't really want to be, he's not the best beginner and he wants to be pushing towards the rail. So box 7 isn't great, but his record off wide draws isn't too bad. And he's just racing so well. If there is an ounce of luck for him on that first corner, watch out, because he went 29.36 when Aston Rupee went 29.10. So essentially he went quicker than Kablenz and a few of these other greyhounds who we've been lauding here. So Hebridean Black is going as good as they are, but he's got a different racing pattern. What do you think of his chances from the wide draw?
I don't think the wide draw suits him, but he's beginning well. Ian Cockrell has said that as soon as they got, the surgery done, I think it might have been his wrist and got some sort of problem sorted out. He just come back a different dog. He was beginning well, and that has just snowballed since then. So look, he's a beast, as you say. He's a powerhouse unit. So I wouldn't rule him out, but look, I'll be going with Kins on Bail. There's a bit of support in the comments for Envy to Burn from Tyson Barfoot, and also Hugo Hansen, and also Georgeson support around Arizona Rise to run a drum. Always a massive hope, but we've been stitched up by the bookmakers who are a step ahead, and we're getting less than even money for that, despite him being $11 to win.
I think if you speak to Robbie Britton, I think he openly says that this greyhound is probably the fastest in his kennel.
Yeah, he said yesterday we were the fastest in the meeting. big call, but you wouldn't argue it.
Oh, look, he'd probably troll 29.10, 29.15 by himself. But the issue is, if you have a look at his last runs, he's gone 5.31, 5.31, 5.28, 5.36 to the marker. So you just know where he's going to be on that first corner. So greyhounds like that, you rely on a little bit of luck. I've seen that little video you did with Robbie and Jeff Britton, and I think Robbie did mention Koblenz is the greyhound he's most scared of through the series because he's in front of you in the mat, and they're the greyhounds that usually win Melbourne Cups. So that probably answers the question about Arizona Eyes. And he's racing really well at the moment, but he's going to have to rely on a little bit of luck here.
Yeah, here he is in box 8, and he just begins poorly every week, storms home every week. So absolutely a lock for your place goes or exotic. So you're with Do It here, George?
Yeah, I am. I think even if he can sort of sit behind Envy to Burn, who's a talented greyhound, as that they've been commenting on, no doubt. But I just think Do It's racing really well. He ran 29.84, getting beaten in that Top Gun against, a greyhound who's retired now and won, 800,000 in prize money, and a greyhound that we consider as, redlining could win the Triple Crown, the second greyhound ever to do it. So, yeah, I'm with Do It from the box draw. I think if he can just begin cleanly enough, he gets his opportunity here.
Yeah, sweet. I'll be with Kings on Bail, number 6. Speaking of 6, Heat 6 of the TAB Melbourne Cup, which is race 10. Now, you spoke earlier on about a betting move that was the biggest of the program. Let's suss it out. Weblek Blazer, even money, opened at $4.80. So,
and it happened quickly too, Jay. But they jumped on it very quickly. They were like seagulls on a chip. It didn't last long at $4.80, and they kept coming. Really interesting betting race, this.
Yeah, it is, and you might wonder why. I mean, if you're looking at the form guide on paper and you've seen what Weblek Blazer's been able to do and those on his outside and etc., it probably is a $4.80 chance. But I mean, you've got to look deeper than that. We look at Aussie Secret, box 2 last Thursday night in a Melbourne Cup prelude. First time we've been at Sandown in a while. We'll go back a bit further there, and as soon as he begins there from box 2, he wants to get to the outside part of the track. What does that do? Opens up a massive pathway there for Weblek Raider to push up. And even outside of that, Handsome Rhino, I believe, wants to get to the wider part as well. We'll see him here at the Meadows. Jump from box number 1. He begins well.
Yeah,
not that he's as desperate as Aussie Secret, but I mean, those two are going to leave plenty of room for Weblek Blazer, and that's what he needs as a powerhouse unit that he is.
Yeah, he is, but there's also food for thought to suggest that Aussie Secret will lead and win. So, it was his first run last week. As you said, he went 5.09, 29.82. Not too worried about the 29.82 because we know he can go quicker than that. He's got a really nice PB here. He's got a solid record. He's won 4 out of 8. I'm sticking with Aussie Secret here. As good a run as the Red will get, and I know, again, the camp have got a really big opinion on Weblek Blazer. And they'd love to see him get through for Mapunga Blazer, being a pup out of Mapunga Blazer. But I just think Aussie Secret, that's Handsome Rhino there, shifting off the track. I think Aussie Secret, like Typhoon Sammy, will improve on his overall time. And he's a very, very good greyhound. And I think he probably deserves his spot in the Melbourne Cup final if he can begin cleanly. Of the others, Jace, I think the big danger is Jungle Juice if he can get a clear run. He's run 2 starts. He's run at the Meadows when he won there. This was 4 starts back now in 29.90. Yes, it was in a mixed 3 and 4, so this is a huge step up in class. But his run last week was very, very eye-catching. If he had drawn box 1 in this race, for instance, I think they would have backed him into like $1.50 or something. Because I think he's a 29, 29.30 dog. There's no doubt about it. The box draw makes it tough for him, but class rises to the top, and there's no doubt about this greyhound's class. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's been stitched up in his past 5 runs. He's drawn box 6, box 7, box 8, box 8, and now returns back to box number 7. A comment there from Liam Sharp. Jungle Juice will need a ping. He will, because as we know in races like this, you can't afford to be finding drama, especially with those that we've spoken about on the inside wanting to shift to the wider part of the track. Heath Sutton, surely there's a little play on Providence Bale for the place. Always rises to the occasion. Sort of had a purple patch, didn't he, George? In the middle part of the year, he was consistently winning free-for-alls, but just hasn't been able to maintain those box manners.
Yeah, he's been a terrific greyhound. You know, he's won over 100,000 in prize money. Yeah, I'm just a little bit worried with what Aussie Secret might do, even if Providence Bale does begin cleanly. I'm sticking with Aussie Secret, but I'm definitely worried about Jungle Juice here because, look, he finished 4.5 lengths behind Aston Rupee in that Top Gun. I thought it was a pretty good run. This is Jungle Juice here from box 8, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, this is the problem with him. He doesn't have the speed out of the boxes like his half brother Tommy Shelby. Well, he just got turned sideways there. There's no doubting his chasing ability. I think he's a little bit like Tommy like that. I think they both chase really, really well. He just kept trying, Jungle Juice. It was just a massive run on a track that wasn't conducive to fast time. He still went 29.82, and True Kalinda was off and gone. So just needs an ounce of luck. And he's one dog I think Jason Thompson doesn't want sitting behind him with Aussie Secret, that's for sure. So they're the two for me, but I'll stick with Aussie Secret purely based on the early speed and the box draw.
Yeah, and I'll stick with Weblet Blazer just because of that paddock he's going to get from Aussie Secret early on. Let's move on. The race 11, heat 7 of the Cup, George, and another one of those at the pointy end of the all-in market is Macaulay's Lad, and Ralph, as he's known to those closest to him. Speaking to Anthony as a party yesterday, he's very comfortable in where he's drawn. He went around in the shootout last week, and it wasn't a campaign to think I'm going to go try and beat Aston Rupee. It was a clean hit out with not a lot of drama to prepare him for a Melbourne Cup heat, and he's come up in a field that if he finds the top, then he's going to be in a very good position.
And sometimes champions like Aston Rupee make you look worse than what the run really was. I mean, he ran 29.68 last week. He went 5.04 early, and I think that would have been the pleasing part for Anthony. The greyhound sort of got out really well, and if he does that again here and leads and runs up to the Macaulay's Lad that we know, and that's 29.20s, 29.10s, well, he's going to be hard to beat. Hard to go past Lakeview Walter too, off where he's drawn. I think a couple of his runs more recently have been really, really good. That Silver Bullet victory against Barooga Smoke was really gutsy. So he's going to give you his all. He's got a terrific record from inside draws. I mean, I know he ran last of 4 in that shootout last week. We got cut out of that first corner. He was never going to beat the leader, and it was over. But he's the big danger here. And True Kalinda, well, again, Jason Thompson's got a massive can be a little bit hit or miss at box rise, but seems to do some really nice racing off wide draws. So I can understand why there's a little bit of support for her as well.
Yeah, and has tough tears on her inside too, who typically does want to be on the fence. So she's going to get a bit of room early on from that. Lakeview Walter, I mean, he was really good in the Silver Bullet at the Meadows. You mentioned him just before. Where does he need to settle to win this, George? Can he run down Macaulay's Lad if he's 2-3 lengths off him down the back?
Yeah, probably not, Jace. Probably not. What do you think? Probably not. Not if Macaulay's Lad is absolutely highballing and running what we know Macaulay's Lad can. He's had a little bit of a checkered preparation for this Macaulay's Lad. I know his run last week was okay, obviously behind Aston Rupee, but yeah, look, they had some injury. I think he hurt a calf, and he's probably now coming back to his best. So we might see that tomorrow. This is him from box 5.
Yeah, and Walter from 1.
Oh, yeah. So that could be the race right there on that first corner like that. And Walter tries to get in underneath him, but Macaulay's Lad pushes up and they sort of stay in that position. So, this is really line ball for me, but I'll stick with Macaulay's Lad.
Yep, Hugo Hansen, Macaulay's Lad will lead for a bit, just a matter of crossing them by a length, and then he's home. The other
the fly in the ointment too, Jace, is the greyhound in box 3, Daps Ascend.
Well, it's funny you say that.
Really
Heaps just said Daps Ascend gives Ralph the card across, or will he?
Yeah, I mean, look, again, this we're talking, apples and oranges when we're dealing with mixed grade 4 races compared to a Melbourne Cup. But you can't push away the fact that Daps Ascend 2 starts ago went 5 dead to the mark, 29.73 at the Meadows. So she's clearly got the talent. She's got a really solid record here as well. She's placed in 7 of 10. She might pose a little bit of a problem. I think if they're going sort of neck and neck down the back, Macaulay's Lad's the quicker greyhound overall. I don't think there's any doubt there. So that might be the chance for Lakeview Walter. I think Dafs Ascend might hold the key to him. But if McCooley's Lad can ping and do the right thing, well, I think the race is his.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with Macaulay's Lad as well. So that's heat 7 of the Melbourne Cup, race 11. We'll now flick the page to the final race of the night, which is heat number 8. And the favourite at the moment is Rebellious. And I'm sure Jason Thompson wouldn't be thrilled drawing box number 8, but he's not one who's sort of hell-bent on wanting to be down towards the inside, George. So it couldn't be the worst draw.
No, it couldn't. And I mean, if you look at his record off wide draws, it's very, very good. But in saying that, 95% of his form's been on provincial tracks where he might have had 6, 7, 8 seconds to the first mark, to the first corner, Jace, where he's really able to wind up. This is a tougher. If you stand head on at Sandown, which I'm sure you've done many a time, you can understand why box 8's a worry for trainers, because you can miss the kick and get camped out wide. We're watching him here. This is box 7, right?
Yeah, he's box 7. Music Events in box number 1, who they jump side by side in this heat.
Yeah, and Music Event going in underneath him and eventually winning the race in very, very fast times. His run last week at Bendigo, Jason, was incredible. And again, we brought it up on radio today. When that Pink Diamond series was on, we seen Kalinda Paddy run 27.70. Aston Rupee got beaten by Shimmer Shine in 27.70. This greyhound's run 27.55 last week. The track record's 27.51. If you couple that with the 24.50 run at Sale, went very, very fast in one run at Geelong, if memory serves me correctly, and he's got a 29.11 PB here. I can understand why they're keen on him, and they're keeping him short in the pre-post market as well. So, look, what's Music Event done wrong either? I mean, that's the thing. He's not as drawn as well as what he was when he ran 29.17, but he used a wide draw a couple of weeks ago and took 29.44. So, wow, and you know what the red's going to do, right? Lala Kiwi, she's going to come out and split in, 5.05 or something of that nature. So it's going to be one hell of a battle to that.
Yeah, I was just about to mention her.
Rickett, yep. I was going to say you're a fan of Rickett and Rick, right? Too. I mean, he's just been a warhorse at Sandown Park for a long time.
Yeah, has he what? I mean, he's not a superstar. He's not one to sort of feature on the red carpet when we talk about the stars of the sport. But as a heart, he is massive. When we saw him taken off the track in a prelude, and he almost still went on to win the race. So his determination is sensational. Luke Stedman is on board with Lala Kiwi. He's Sutton also with Lala Kiwi. Outside of that, a huge mention to Jax Bale, 3 years, 10 months, and still running strong. And you can repeat that, George. He's been a star. The amount of free-for-alls he goes around in, and he's one of those greyhounds that rarely competes in a grade 5.
He's one of those greyhounds that in 3 or 4 years' time, people will say, what was that dog's name? They'll probably forget about him, but he's one of those greyhounds that everybody wants in their kennel. He's won nearly 200K. He's a group winner. He's been an absolute star. This race, like a lot of the races, Jay, so I think when you're talking about a dog like Rickett and Rick, is they're going to have to rely on some sort of shuffle up front. Because if Rebellious takes the front and leads and is running 1850s, 1860s, well, he won't be caught. He won't be caught by Rickett and Rick, I can tell you. I just don't think it'll happen. Yeah. So that's where it lies. And I think a few races are like that. So, again, this is a cracking way to finish the night. It's unbelievable. And then, of course, we look forward to the box draw on the Sunday. So, bring it on.
Yep. Comment from Peter Riley. Thunder Tears, he's drawn where he wants to be. The 7 and 8 will just have to jump to get to the rails. So, a bit of optimism there from Pete for Thunder Tears. It was $101 at the moment and $9 a drum.
Yeah, and with the Britain touch, you can never discount people like that. But look, this is a cracking race. Speed from in and out. If Rebellious could come out and run 29.10 again and almost be one of the leading fancies of the week. There's so many permutations to this, but I don't mind him drawn out there. I think he's got enough speed to perhaps go very close to leading here.
Yeah. While we were discussing Heat 7, then, George, was a bit of discussion about a match race between the half brothers. in Tommy Shelby and Jungle Juice at the moment after 12 votes. Tommy Shelby at 67%. What do you reckon? As a match race, those two.
Yeah, look, I can't see him. I can't see Jungle Juice getting past Tommy. Tommy will find a way to win somehow. He's just one of those greyhounds. He looks beaten sometimes and then he just kicks again. But I tell you what, Jungle Juice is not far off him just on pure ability. So I can understand why people might be voting that way as well.
Yep. He's starting getting behind Keen Ando and Hugo Hansen, Lala Kiwi is a jet. So there's a look at all of the heats of the Bowl Treese and also the TAB Melbourne Cup tomorrow night. George, you'll be on track?
Yeah, we'll be helping out with social media, Jace. I think there'll be a lot to talk about. And you know these nights, right? It's non-stop. So you don't even get a chance to even have a bread roll, mate. Oh, I mean, there's always something happening. And look, there'll be some upsets. There's no doubt about it. But I think if we can get a final where we can get, a dream final for me would be a Koblenz, Aston Rupee, Tommy Shelby type
setup.
Hang
on, before you keep going, Paul D's made a comment. George's Melbourne Cup field, Koblenz, Tommy Shelby, Typhoon Sammy, Aston Rupee, Do It, Aussie Secret, Macaulay's Lad, and Rebellious. Fair field, if that was to happen.
If we had that and there was no COVID restrictions, they'd be jumping over each other to get into Sandown Park next Friday night. Can you imagine that? Oh. That would be unbelievable.
Yeah. So there's very limited general admission available at the moment if anyone's keen, and also some very limited spots left from a dining point of view. So if you're keen to get along, make sure you head to the website and check out all the details surrounding that too. As well, George, I mentioned be helping out with the social. Luke Corder has been tuning in at the moment. He'll be the man behind the wheel, and you'll be working alongside him with a different role as well. We spoke about the numbers and speeds and Koblenz's first 20 metres. You're going to have access to that first 20 metre split as soon as they happen. So you'll be all over that throughout the night.
Yeah, we'll be sharing them because there's been a really good response from people that I know in the industry about that 20 metre split, Jace. So I think they're really keen to elaborate on that. And how many greyhounds are we going to see reach the 70K mark? Probably more than one tomorrow night. So, or at least we hope so.
Yep. Stunning. All right, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks even further for being a part of the chat. It's been a great addition to what we've done here tonight. Any feedback, please drop it in. Let us know. It's a first for doing this sort of style of stuff, and it's been great fun. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you to you, George. And I guess all eyes on Friday night. It's the best night of racing of the year, Cup Heats. It doesn't get much better than that. So you can catch all the action, of course, on Sky Racing 1 as always, but for wall-to-wall coverage, firstly you can head to the Sandown Dogs Twitter account, and an extension to that, Sky Racing Active will be live on the track. Myself, Mark Olmus, and Jason Lincoln speaking to all the main players in tomorrow night's heat. So it's going to be a big night. Enjoy it, get some sleep because it's a big night tomorrow night. Thanks for tuning in.